Hello and welcome back to Stitch Chemistry. In this video, we will look at 8 full skein swatches made with Bernat blanket yarn in the color Silver Steel. The 8 stitches used for these swatches are single crochet, moss or the linen stitch, half double crochet, triple or treble crochet, granny stripes, a classic granny square, and a solid granny square. I used a 5.3 ounce skein for these swatches. If you have a 10.5 ounce skein, the area of these swatches would be approximately double the size. All of these swatches were made with the recommended size 8mm hook. Before we take a look at the individual swatches, here are all 8 full skein swatches together. I did my best to accurately compare the sizes of the swatches, but there might be some slight errors in my editing, so please consider these approximate size comparisons and not perfect size comparisons. A few important things to note are that I reuse skeins to make more than one swatch. This yarn doesn't have very much stretch, but I want to be transparent that the skeins are reused, so there could be some slight stretching. It's also important to note that tension, project width, and hook size can all affect the way a colorway lays. So these swatches should be considered as examples and not the exact expectation for how your project will turn out. There are chapter links in the description of this video if you would like to skip ahead and learn more about a particular swatch. The single crochet swatch has 44 stitches per row with one turning chain at the end of every row. The swatch has 23.3 rows and the approximate size is 20.5 by 10.5 inches or 52 by 27 centimeters. If you look toward the bottom right corner of the swatch, you will see a red stitch marker. When I make these swatches, I always mark factory knots because they can affect the way a colorway lays, especially if the knot disrupts the color sequence of the skein. In this skein, the factory knot did not appear to make any issues with the colorway sequence, so I reused this skein multiple times. Throughout this video, you might see this small red stitch marker, and that will just show you which times I used the same skein for different swatches. The swatch for the moss stitch, also known as the linen stitch, also has 44 stitches per row with one turning chain at the end of every row. This swatch was just shy of 27 rows, and the approximate size is 19.5 by 13 inches or 50 by 33 centimeters. The half double crochet swatch again has 44 stitches per row with one turning chain at the end of every row. This swatch has 17.75 rows and the approximate size of 20.5 by 10 inches or 52 by 26 centimeters. This swatch has clear pooling in vertical lines that I would like to take a closer look at. This yarn colorway uses symmetrical colored sections, as shown with the color lines. This particular colorway has 3 colors, so the symmetry can be done in 2 patterns, either color 1, color 2, color 3, color 2, color 1, or color 3, color 2, color 1, color 2, color 3. The colors will easily pool if you end a row in the middle of one of those centers of the symmetrical patterns, since the next row will lay the exact same colors on top of the colors used from the previous row. In this sample, both edges ended in the middle of a pooling color, and that meant every time I went back and forth on a row, the colors lined up with the colors from the row below. This was a random occurrence, but I think very interesting. I decided to make another half double crochet swatch as a comparison, and as you can see, the two look very different. In my second swatch, there was no pooling at all. So again, this is a great reminder that there are so many variables that will determine how your colorway lays in your project. And so these videos, I hope, will be good reference for an idea of what to expect, but your project may turn out very different than mine did. I started this swatch series because I love using variegated yarns, and whenever I see a new one, I'm always curious, how long will the color sections be? Will they be equal sizes per color? Are some going to be long and some going to be short? How many stitches will I get per color section? And what kind of stitch would suit that colorway best? So this whole series is meant to be a guide for people to be able to take a look and see, okay, this is a yarn with short sections. So if I do smaller stitches, the sections will last longer. Or they're uneven sections. Some colors are very short while some colors are very long. It's only meant to be a reference, but I hope it can be helpful for you to take a look at a yarn before you use it and get an idea of what stitch you would like to use based on your personal preferences. I also want to note that, as you can see, these two swatches ended up having a slightly different number of rows. These skeins are similar weights, but they are not all the exact same weight. So just like the color layout might be a little bit different for your project than mine, the end size of the project might be different as well. So just like I hope this can be a reference for the colorway sections, I also hope it could be a good reference for how many skeins you need to buy before you start a project if you know ahead of time what size you're hoping to make. But also be aware that just like the color layout could be different, the size could also be slightly different based on the skein weight. Next, we have the double crochet swatch. This swatch has 44 stitches per row, this time with 2 turning chains at the end of every row. There are 11.75 rows in this swatch, and the approximate size is 23 by 11.5 inches, or 59 by 29 centimeters. The triple or treble crochet swatch has both classic triple crochet stitches and linked triple crochet stitches, because I know some people don't like the gaps left between the stitches when they use the classic triple crochet stitch. I made a small counting error when I made my base chain, so this swatch only has 43 stitches per row. The linked triple crochets have 4 turning chains at the end of every row, and the classic triple crochets have 3 turning chains at the end of every row. When I made this swatch, I tried to evenly split the swatch in half, and the bottom below the red line are the linked triple crochets, and then above the red line are the classic triple crochets. I cannot remember how accurately I measured this, if I had just folded an old swatch in half or if I actually weighed the yarn halfway through the project. So this might not be fully accurate. I haven't done this again, and I probably won't do it again in the future. I think it's easier to just end at the end of a row to show the two in comparison to each other. But row 1 through row 4.3, which are below the red line, are the linked stitches, and row 4.3 through row 8.5, which are above the red line, are the classic stitches. Here is a closer look at the two styles of triple crochet stitches. Again, the stitches above the red line are the classic triple crochet stitch, and the rows below the red line are the linked triple crochet stitch. The Granny Stripes swatch has a chain length of 42 stitches because this pattern needs a base foundation chain that is a multiple of 3. I also used 2 turning chains at the end of every row. This swatch ended up just over 11 rows, and the approximate size is 21.5 by 10.5 inches, or 55 by 27 centimeters. The first of the 2 Granny Square swatches is the classic Granny Square. I did not use chain spaces between my clusters for this classic Granny Square. This swatch ended up being 8.7 rows, and when I took the approximate size measurements, I did this for only the completed rows. So row 1 through row 8 equal out to be about 14 by 14 inches or 36 by 36 centimeters. Our last swatch is the solid granny square swatch. This swatch ended up being 7.5 rows, and again, I only took the size measurements for the completed rows inside the red square, which were 15 by 15 inches or 38 by 38 centimeters. Here are all 8 swatches together one more time. This time I have made the sizes more even so details can be compared more easily. As always, I would love to know what you think about this colorway and if you have a favorite swatch. Please comment and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.